Welcome, albeit virtually, to what is perhaps the most tangible symbol of our connection with the community's history, the chapel, which for the most part of 130 years has been a focus of the life of our students and staff. Maybe some of you in the past have come here to pray, or to enjoy this building's beauty, or its warmth, or its silence. Maybe some of you have found your way here in order to celebrate, or to mourn. Maybe some of you will, like others who have graduated from our community, come back here to celebrate your wedding, or to bring your children to be baptized. But above all, I hope that you know that this place will never stop being your chapel, and that it will help give you a sense that you are an inextricable part of this community's amazing ongoing story, and your solidarity with its rather wonderful past. But first, I ask you to take a brief moment to reflect on the path that has led you to this moment, and, if it is your custom, to pray with me for all of our newest graduates. Let us pray. O God, maker of all that is, bless and approve our offering here today, the degrees that have been earned as proof of a deep quest, the fruit of long academic, physical, emotional, and spiritual labor. In the days, months, and years ahead, grant that all who graduate today may come to know more clearly the purpose that their labors, their learning, and their degrees will play in the divine plan, to the greater glory of the one who is love itself. We ask this in the name of Jesus, the light of the world. Amen.
Graduates of Bishop Grosseteste University and friends and family of our graduates who will be tuning into this event. As Vice-chancellor of the university, it's my great pleasure to welcome you all to this virtual celebration in recognition of the BGU class of 2020. That is to say, those of you who graduated last year. As many of you will appreciate, I had hoped that we would be in a position to welcome you all in person to Lincoln Cathedral. This was, believe it or not, our third attempt to try and host a face-to-face event. Nevertheless, I do want to assure you that this ceremony is just as important an occasion, as evidenced by the presence of the mace, which is an integral element of the ceremonial life of the university. These celebrations are being hosted in a similarly sacred space to the cathedral, our university chapel. Although smaller in scale, this building is situated, both physically and metaphorically, right at the heart of our campus. Dedicated to Saints Francis and Clare, it was formally opened on October the 5th, 1872, following a 3-year period of building works at a cost of £916, which in today's money is around £60,000. Like many religious buildings at the time, it was opened before it was either finished or furnished. But what you see today is the result of the gradual improvements and embellishments made by the generous support given by successive generations of both staff and students. The chapel has been an integral part of life on campus for the past 160 years, and it has flourished through the ups and downs of campus life, as well as events in the wider world. It has witnessed the Spanish flu, 2 world wars, and now another global pandemic. And you are the latest examples of BGU graduates who have emerged from your studies stronger, more resilient and positive, despite the turbulence which has affected the whole world. And as a result, you are more able to face the vicissitudes of life. Your official graduation date, of course, was last year, but today we are celebrating both your qualification and also your continued development and success during the past 12 months. Since leaving BG, you will have been using your skills and knowledge to make a difference in society in your own unique way. I know that some of you, our graduates, have been in the front line, for example, in education or in the health and social care sectors. Others have been adapting to new ways of working, and some of you may be continuing to look for opportunities or deciding what you want to do next. But apart from formal employment, many of you have been doing simple things for others, such as shopping for vulnerable relatives or neighbours, volunteering, donating to charity, or simply reaching out to people who were experiencing loneliness or isolation. And in all of that, you will have demonstrated the values which we built with you here at BGU, the values of respect, integrity, courage, resilience. Embodying these make you stand out as a graduate of this institution and as ambassadors of the quality that this institution represents. I would also want to emphasize to you that this is not the end of our journey. Your association with BGU is for life. For those of you who have not yet decided what you want to do in the shorter term, I would just like to remind you that we remain committed to your success as graduates and that our colleagues in the Careers, Employability and Enterprise Centre are happy to work with you to help you find your suitable next step. You are all an integral part of our family of alumni, a growing global body of BGU graduates. We will always remain interested in your progress, and we will continue to support and promote your success. Without you, the university would not be what it is today. We are in regular contact with our former students, so that if you have a particular story to tell, which demonstrates what you gained as a graduate and how you have developed as an individual and professional, then please let us know. We're always happy to advertise our graduates' successes. So in conclusion, my huge congratulations to you. Everyone at the university, that's to say the staff, the University Council, and our continuing students, are immensely proud of you and are inspired by what you have achieved. I do wish you all the very best in the adventures that lie ahead of you. You have all that you need to succeed. So take time today to celebrate in your own context and in your own particular way and reflect on your success so far.
I have the pleasure to present our honorary graduate, Prue Goodwin. Prue Goodwin is a graduate and a world authority on primary education. From 1965 to 1968, she trained as a teacher at BGU, then known as Bishop Grosseteste College. Teaching has been Prue's vocation. It allowed her to realize her personal strengths as well as to develop many creative approaches to learning in schools. Her career started in a Hampshire primary school. She then worked in primary and secondary schools in Surrey before joining Language in the Curriculum, a project initiated by the government. In 1992, Prue was appointed Director of INSET at the National Centre for Language and Literacy at the University of Reading. 10 years later, she decided to become a freelance consultant in literacy learning and children's books, but also continued at Reading on a part-time basis, working with trainee teachers and running an MA module on children's books in education. Time as a freelancer was spent writing, editing, speaking at conferences, providing consultancy to publishers of children's books, and supporting literacy initiatives in schools and libraries across the UK. Prue Goodwin's research investigates children's books in teaching, and especially in relation to literacy, and in the teaching of reading. She is a prolific writer and has written and edited more than 18 books and guides, of which her most notable contributions are Literacy Through Creativity, The Articulate Classroom, Talking and Learning in the Primary School, Understanding Children's Books, a Guide for Education Professionals. Prue Goodwin has lectured internationally and has been involved in initiatives concerning the development of literacy and children's literature in the UK, such as the Kate Greenaway Medal, which is an annual award that recognises distinguished illustration in a book for children. She is a long-standing member of the UK Literacy Association, UKLA. She has been involved with research into teachers' professional knowledge of children's books and as an active member of the organising committee for the increasingly significant UKLA Book Awards. This is the only children's book award that is judged by teachers. Other organisations concerned with national standards of literacy, CLPE, the Centre for Literacy in Primary Education, for example, the Book Trust, CILIP, Chartered Institute of Library and Information Professionals, and the National Literacy Trust have invited Prue to contribute to their work. Prue Goodwin was part of the beginnings of the Teachers as Readers research, which resulted in the now more than 80 UKLA and Open University teachers' reading groups in the UK. One of these groups is at BGU. Prue Goodwin embodies what we at BGU stand for: outstanding teacher training and literacy developments paired with the ambition to seed a lifelong love of reading. Prue Goodwin's work is invaluable to the BABE and PGC programs, as well as to the members of LILY, RKEU Literature and Literacies. When I asked my colleagues about Prue Goodwin, one of them commented, "She is a scholar whose work I have referenced in my own postgraduate studies on children's literature, and that I now signpost to my students as they consider how children can be supported to develop an understanding of books as well as a lifelong love of reading." In December 2019, when Prue Goodwin visited BGU to act as external panel member for Stage 1 of the validation of MA Children's Literature and Literacies, she not only told us what we should have included in the reading lists, she also offered to donate parts of her enormous collection during a tour of the Teaching Resource Collection, TRC. The TRC, a favourite place on campus, is the cradle of all things reading for and with children. Prue Goodwin, a freelance lecturer in literacy and children's literature scholarship, consulted by colleagues in HE and children's publishing, has a national and international reputation for her work in education. She stands for equal opportunities and inclusion. She is unique in how she blends theory and practice, giving insights into texts and advice on how books can be used and shared with children. Reading changes people. Children need reading skills, but also a love for reading so that they can lead their lives responsibly, aware of others, as well as to the full, inspired by all that there is to read. Prue Goodwin has inspired generations of readers, and therefore I am pleased to present her as worthy candidate for the degree of Doctor of the University Honoris Causa.
It is with gratitude and contrasting feelings of humility and pride that I accept an honorary degree, an honorary doctorate. When I started my 3-year training to be a teacher here at Bishop Grosseteste College, little did I think that I would be back here 56 years later, receiving the appreciation of colleagues for a lifetime's work in literacy education. I feel I'm receiving the greatest honour imaginable for a teacher, such a privilege and such a delightful surprise. It would have surprised my tutors here too, I think. Academically, I wasn't the most diligent of students, but somehow when I got into the classroom, I found that teaching suited me very well. I started work in 1968. Memories of my first year are not about how nervous I felt or how consuming the job was. I remember in my first term buying Where the Wild Things Are by Maurice Sendak and the original version of Chitty Chitty Bang Bang by Ian Fleming, both to read aloud to my class. I remember an earnest 7-year-old boy called Charles Hart who proposed to me, offering a ring from a Christmas cracker in a matchbox lined with cotton wool. I should have accepted. He was the future lyricist of Phantom of the Opera. I remember the whole school sitting on the hall floor to watch Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin walk on the moon. It was an exciting time, very different from teaching today. There was no national curriculum, no Ofsted, no internet, but there were teachers' centres where we were encouraged to develop our fledgling knowledge about learning, and there was rigorous research going on. Teachers and schools and universities were questioning, experimenting, and sharing their ideas with us about literacy education. It didn't take me long to realise that sharing excellent children's books with my pupils would motivate them to read. But no matter how motivated they were, there are always some children who struggled to read. It was these so-called reluctant readers that featured in my MA research. Another research project, initiated by the United Kingdom Literacy Association, explored teachers' knowledge of children's literature in the classroom, which consequently led to the recognition that teachers who are themselves readers, especially those who read children's books, are more effective when teaching reading. The impact of this project continues to this day, championed by the Literacy and Social Justice Centre at the Open University. Throughout my working life, I've enjoyed my job. Of course, there have been things that have been annoying, even upsetting, about being a teacher, a lecturer, and now a consultant. For example, the belittling of the teaching profession and the damaging directives regarding literacy teaching sent out by government. But there's more to celebrate than to regret. Few things can equal the joy of sharing books with children in the classroom. It's not for entertainment. It is the essential experience of being lost in a book, albeit you that's reading and them that are having a vicarious experience. I never cease to be proud of the dedication of my colleagues in schools, colleges and universities who have taken each new government literacy initiative and transformed it into good practice. To all my new colleagues leaving Bishop Grosseteste University this year, some advice. Make friends with a librarian. Join the United Kingdom Literacy Association's Student and Early Career Teacher Network. Remember, you are the chief learning resource in your classroom. Be the best that you can be. May your futures be bright and your careers be as rewarding as mine has been. Where I started, I will finish here at Bishop Grosseteste. A sincere thank you, Bishop Grosseteste University, for crowning my 50 years in education with an honorary doctorate.
We encourage your celebrations to be heard, so please do feel free to unmute your microphone. We now present the following candidates, including those in absentia. For the degree of Bachelor of Arts, Primary Education with Honours, Callum Bennett. Anna Bowley. Rachel Harding. Lee John Hornby. Emily Hunt. Hannah Jessamine. Kimia Palmer. Hannah Phillips. Hannah Thorne. For the degree of Bachelor of Arts, Primary Education with recommendation for QTS with First Class Honours and the Chancellor and University Council Award for Academic Achievement, Abigail Allen. Keris Ball. Sophie Bairn. Lydia Bowden. Chloe Brown. Madeline Brown. Chloe Chance. Emily Clayton. Olivia Deet. Jessica Edgley. Georgia Elliott. Charlotte Farnsworth. Chloe Fletcher. Olivia Grummett. Ashley Rose Hallam. Winner of the award for academic progression in the field of initial teacher education in memory of Len Marsh, Tori Hargreaves. Eleanor Hart. Grace Hemeter. Bethany Hood. Emily Hughes. Megan Jones. Stephen Jones. Bethany Lighton. Eleanor Mastin. Hannah Neal. Jodie Norris. Amber Nutman. Jordan Parker. Keely Pearson. Jessica Pope. Harry Priest. Grace Recchia. Brittany Reeve. Alicia Saunders. Kieran O'Neill Smythe. Daniel Waite. Tanisha Walker. Hannah Willows. For the degree of Bachelor of Arts, Primary Education with recommendation for QTS with Honours, Megan Batty. Caitlin Beavis. Alina Batambo. Adam Booth. Rebecca Boskill. Rebecca Bush. Jessica Castro. Owen Clarkson. Lauren Commons. Alexia Coote. Olivia Cutforth. Erin Dagg. Charlotte Darrington. Julia Day. Rebecca Dennis. Charlotte Fogg. Jo Glover. Laura Grant. Connor Hollyoake. Emma Ingham. Rebecca Jennings. Christopher Johnstone, Chloe Mattin, Hannah McKay, Tegan Mitchell, Jennifer Newton, Jessica Pavia, George Rhodes, Emily Richmond, Lucy Riddings, Ellie Smith, Harriet Smith, Sophie Smith, Imogen Snelling, Abigail Somerville, Jade Towers, Zoe Whitman, Cameron Wilson, Bethany Woods, Chloe Woods. For the degree of Bachelor of Arts, Primary Teaching 5 to 11 with honours, Lindsay Jackson. For the degree of Bachelor of Arts, Primary Teaching with recommendation for QTS 5 to 11 with first class honours and the Chancellor and University Council Award for Academic Achievement, Daniel Brown. Jennifer Clifford, Kristen Jennings, Victoria Moore. For the degree of Bachelor of Arts, Primary Teaching with recommendation for QTS 5 to 11 with honours, Lisa Ballard, Shanice Boyfield, Chloe Brown, Charlotte Butler, Shannon Clare, Stacey Clark, Chelsea Cross, Jetta Denton, Laura Ellis, Kelly Fenton Bradshaw, Jonathan Flockhart, Ashley Frankish, Georgina Gardner, Louise Hawken, Emma Hayden, Ryan Leggett, Charlene Luty, Jessica Marsh, Charlotte Massingham, Wednesday May, Amy Morell, Brett Needham, Leah Onyet, Nicole Orris, Wendy Smalley, Emily Traynor, Rachel Tucker, Kirk Wallace, Louise Walsham. Master of Arts in Education with distinction and the Chancellor and University Council Award for Academic Achievement, Rachel Bertie. Louise Connolly, Sophie Parkinson. Master of Arts in Education, Alice May Anders, Carolyn Appleby, Paul Brennan Foster, Andrew Dickinson, Jessica English, Candida Godson, Christina Key, Laura Lamley, Paula Murray, Cindy Piata Medina, Sally Reeve, Claire Scott, Dawn Slaney, Claire Swinton, Nolene Tear. For the Master of Arts in Education, TESOL with distinction and the Chancellor and University Council Award for Academic Achievement, Siobhan Hall. Anna Martin Ostler. Master of Arts in Education, TESOL, Kelly Marie Brickcliffe, Inese Ivald, Daniel Evans, Lara Fish, Becky Legra Meroy, Anthony Murray, Priscilla Awajueya Ejamai, Kira Smith, Eleanor Talton, Jennifer Twigg, Mohammed Adil Zaraway. For the Postgraduate Diploma in Community Archaeology, Lucinda Allen. For the postgraduate certificate in education with TESOL, Chantal Jacques, Tanya Pays, Dorj Satva, Jessica Troughton. For the postgraduate certificate in education secondary art and design 11 to 16, Bryony Vouse. For the postgraduate certificate in education secondary business 14 to 19, Rob Fisher. Mark Morley. For the postgraduate certificate in education secondary classics and Latin 11 to 16, Lawrence Gardiner. Justin McLean. For the postgraduate certificate in education secondary computing 11 to 16, Samuel Sellers, Hayley Smith, Lee Walden, Sam Walker. For the postgraduate certificate in education secondary design and technology 11 to 16, Jade Fricker, Jennifer Twigg. For the postgraduate certificate in education secondary drama 11 to 16, Bethany Elsby, Charlotte Thompson, Courtney Mitchell. For the postgraduate certificate in education secondary English 11 to 16, Rebecca Linden Brownbridge, Justine Cooper, Nicola DeVito, Emma Fletcher, Emily Gray, Rosie Harrison, Andrea Hull, Sophie Macmillan, Shadia Rafiuddin, Sadie Stottard, Andrew Talon, Emily Teese, Laura Telford, Claire Toogood, Rebecca Tyson, Rosie White. For the postgraduate certificate in education secondary, English School Direct 11 to 16, Georgia Heath. For the postgraduate certificate in education secondary geography 11 to 16, Sophie Eckersall, Cicely Edwards, Helen Lee, Matthew Lonsdale, John Smales, Lois Stevenson. For the postgraduate certificate in education secondary history 11 to 16, Alicia Adams, Zoe Allen, Stella Buller, Charlotte Bycroft, Aoife Costello, Emma Cross, Jack Fraser-Knight, Chris Macmillan, Paul Morgan, Harvey Potter, Megan Ram, Isabel Swain, Jessica Turner, and Philippa Worthington. For the postgraduate certificate in education secondary, History School Direct 11 to 16, Stephanie Summers. For the postgraduate certificate in education secondary mathematics 11 to 16, Sebastian Adams, Fatma Botsameh, Andrew Brewer, Charlotte Crosby, Coral Jolly, Nathan King, Sarika Pavada, James Rose, Millie Simpson, Hayley Smith, Alina Wilson. For the postgraduate certificate in education secondary mathematics school direct 11 to 16, Zeke Sue Rue. For the postgraduate certificate in education secondary modern foreign languages French 11 to 16, Fatima Mitchell. Andrew Armstrong. For the Postgraduate Certificate in Education, Secondary, Modern Foreign Languages, French, School Direct, 11 to 16, Jennifer Rees. For the Postgraduate Certificate in Education, Secondary, Modern Foreign Languages, French, School Direct, 11 to 16, Sandrine Pichelet. For the Postgraduate Certificate in Education, Secondary, Modern Foreign Languages, Spanish, German, French, 11 to 16, David Thu. For the Postgraduate Certificate in Education, Secondary, Modern Foreign Languages, Spanish, German, French, School Direct, 11 to 16, Jennifer Dyer. For the Postgraduate Certificate in Education, Secondary, Modern Foreign Languages, Spanish, German, French, 11 to 16, Sonia Mahoney. For the Postgraduate Certificate in Education, Secondary, Modern Foreign Languages, Spanish, 11 to 16, Olga Brown. Jose Santos Melonio. For the Postgraduate Certificate in Education, Secondary Music, 11 to 16, George Bonn. Anthony Darnell. Ewan East. Mona Kashmiri.
Well done,
Samuel Lake. Emily Lancashire. Chloe Place. Amber Shook-Smith. For the Postgraduate Certificate in Education, Secondary Music, School Direct, 11 to 16, Natasha Fretwell. For the Postgraduate Certificate in Education, Secondary Physical Education, 11 to 16, Tyler Jack Baker. Evie Cannon. Thomas Priestley. Samuel Smith. Isaac Walensky. For the Postgraduate Certificate in Education, Secondary Physical Education, School Direct, 11 to 16, Sam Anderson. For the Postgraduate Certificate in Education, Secondary Psychology, 14 to 19, Leah Kerr. For the Postgraduate Certificate in Education, Secondary Religious Education, 11 to 16, Oliver Eagle. Neve East. Morgan Groves. Rosemary Kirk. Bethany Pembleton. Imogen Varley. For the Postgraduate Certificate in Education, Secondary Science with Biology, 11 to 16, Francis Bates. Jessica Bennett. Samantha Hazelhurst Irving. Ray Keir Tomlin. Emily Mortimer. Hannah Ruhr. Liam Seeley. Lucinda Shui. David Street. Samuel Robert Wallace. Simone Wardle. William Wright. For the Postgraduate Certificate in Education, Secondary Science with Chemistry, 11 to 16, Catherine Chapman. Gwennon Mayer Evans. Patrick O'Driscoll. Adam Whitaker. For the Postgraduate Certificate in Education, Secondary Science with Physics, 11 to 16, Jamie White. For the Postgraduate Certificate in Education, Secondary Social Science, 14 to 19, Sophie Bennett. Sharon Teenby. For the Postgraduate in Education, Secondary English, Megan Avery. For the Professional Graduate Certificate in Education, Secondary Mathematics, Abdallah Wahishi. For the Postgraduate Certificate in General Practice Nursing, Chantel Allen Ricardo. Sarah Bluff, Lauren Christopher, Bronwyn Hind, Sarah Hodgkinson, Lucy Merrill, Jessica Petra, Kirsty Seven, Zoe Singleton, Abby Willows, Rachel Wren. For the Professional Graduate Diploma in Education, Training and Skills, Alexander Aslan, Alex Burton, Sophie Hillman, George Hughes, Kieran McKenney, Samuel Randall, Stephen Surridge, Damien Taylor, Connor Tinsley, Amy Todd, Nicholas Tuck, Michelle Yates. This concludes the reading of the names of the graduates.
Hello everyone, my name is Erin and I'm the President of the Students' Union. I would like to congratulate each and every one of you for the immense strength and dedication you have shown during your time as a student. I am so aware that every single one of you have had wildly different experiences throughout your university journey, yet you are all brought here to celebrate together. So I would like you to take a moment to recognise those that you're graduating with, even those who you might not have met, and share your pride with them. Right, now you can go back to being proud of yourselves. Now I would like to give you a bit of advice that I've learned since leaving BGU. Don't look back at your time here with regret, because you've done it now. You've got the degree, you've probably conquered fears, and you've started the journey of the rest of your life. You've done it. University is not only a place to learn and get a degree, but it's also a place to develop as a person. So if you do have regrets, turn them into goals. Make your life what you want to make it, and use your university experience to do it, because you really do get so much more out of university than just your degree, so don't waste it. And finally, on behalf of the entire SU, I would like to thank you. Thank you for being honest with us and sharing insight on how to make your experience better. Thank you for contributing to the lovely community of BGU. And thank you for being so patient and understanding this past year. I wish you all the best in your future endeavours, and I hope to see some of you in the next year during your postgraduate studies. Thank you.